Today for story time, we are reading a book called A Day in the Life of a Firefighter. It's all about telling us about the jobs a firefighter does. This is written by Heather Adamson. She's the author, which means she wrote the... Now, there's not an illustrator because the pictures are not drawn with a pencil or paint or crayons. The pictures are taken with a... Do you know what I'm doing? You guys are like, no, everybody uses an iPhone nowadays. This is a camera. People used to take pictures like with a camera. You'd press a button and they'd take a photograph. That's what it's called. This is a photograph. What's this called? A photograph is a real picture. Our photos of the week, those are all photographs. Those are taken with a camera, but I take those with my iPad, so I don't take them with a clicky thing or a camera. But the pictures are not, there's no illustrator because the pictures are photos. So they're actual photographs. So in this picture, we have Firefighter Mark. Say his name. And you can see the clock. This is when Mark gets to work. It's 7 in the morning. That's when Mark gets to work. It says, how do firefighters begin their work days? Firefighters go to the fire station to start their shifts. Firefighter Mark works from 7 in the morning one day until 7 in the morning the next day. When Mark arrives at work, he finds his boots and his gloves. He checks his air tank to be sure it is full. He must be ready if there is a fire. Firefighters need to be ready. So he gets his boots and gloves, checks his air tank to make sure there's oxygen in case he has to go into a smoky building. What happens when there is a fire? People call 911 for an emergency on the phone when there's a fire. The dispatcher, which is the person that answers the phone, calls and tells the fire station, we have an emergency fire at the address, and tells them where to go. The alarm at the station goes. Mark and the firefighters hurry to rush and put on their gear, like their fire coat, fire helmet, fire pants, boots, gloves, and they drive fire trucks to the fire. Have you ever seen a fire truck? Firefighter Mark is standing in front of a fire truck.
I saw one.
Now, do you see the clock up here? It says it's 12:30 p.m. It's almost lunchtime. Excuse me, 11:30 p.m. My mistake. 11:30 p.m. It's almost lunchtime. And he says, the book asks, are there ever any false alarms? A false alarm is when the alarm goes off, but there is not really a fire. Sometimes alarms go off when there is not a fire. Still, people and firefighters must treat every alarm as a real fire. Firefighters check the building to make sure it is safe. Having a seat on your bottom, eyes up here. Mark's crew spends an hour checking the building. Mark's crew did not find a fire. but they still had to check the building. They spend 1 hour checking to make sure everything is safe. You should have your eyes forward with ears listening. Where do firefighters eat?
In the lunchroom like we do.
Firefighters usually eat at the fire station. Now it is 12:30 on the clock. It says it's Mark's turn to cook lunch. They have a kitchen and a table at the fire station. Mark makes pasta and bread in the fire station's kitchen
All the time.
for him and his fire crew. So they eat meals at the fire station. They have a kitchen that they cook food in, and that's where they eat too. See his whole crew around the table? Now it's 2:30. You see the clock? It says 2:30 in the afternoon. So Mark started work at 7 a.m. Now it's 2:30.
Well, now he has to go to bed.
Where do firefighters sleep? Many fire stations have rooms called dorms where firefighters can sleep after a short nap. So he's not going to bed for the night. He just took a short nap. Mark and his crew will train together. That's another word for practice, training. They practice rescues and learn how to work safely. They're being safe, kind, and ready at the fire station. Firefighters stay busy even when there are no fires. Do you guys practice being safe, kind, and ready?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You are right. Do you always have to be ready? Yes. What do firefighters do when they are not on a fire call? Well, now it's 5 in the evening. 5 in the evening. Remember, Mark started work at 7 in the morning. Now it's 5 in the evening. Firefighters teach fire safety. Mark shows children how the fire truck works. That would be exciting. He tells them what to do if there's a fire. Firefighters also go to other emergencies. They give first aid and they help the police. So firefighters go to all emergencies because they're trained to help and be safe and ready in all emergencies. Ooh, how do firefighters put out fires? You guys know?
Yeah. Water.
Water? Firefighters use special equipment to put out fires. Mark and the driver hook up a hose together. Mark wears a mask and an air tank to protect him so he's not breathing the smoke. His clothes protect him from the heat and the spraying water. So his jacket and pants are waterproof, and his helmet protects him from the heat and the water, and he wears a face mask that sends oxygen so he can breathe instead of breathing the smoke. If you try to breathe smoke, you'll end up not being able to breathe in a coughing fit. What happens when a fire is out? Firefighters have to have work to do after the fire is out. Firefighter Mark and his crew clean the trucks. When their shift is over, when his shift is over, Mark will go home and another firefighter will come to work. Firefighters are always on duty. Look, here's the clock. It says it's 3:30 in the morning. The very next morning, it's almost time for firefighter Mark to go home. Look at this. You see this picture of horses pulling a cart? Horses pulled the early fire engines. Some fire stations did not have horse stables. If there was a fire, the driver had to run to the field and chase the horses down. After hooking up the horses, the crew raced to the fire. Now we have fire engines with engines, and they drive. There is Fireman Mark. This arrow is pointing to his air tank, his helmet, his gloves and boots. There is a dog, a black and white dog called a Dalmatian. Say that word, Dalmatian. Dalmatians are often fire station dogs. These are the ladders on the fire truck. They help the firefighters climb when the fire is high. This is called the crew cab. That's where the crew sits when the truck is driving. Here are the hoses. Here are the doors. And this is called the cab. The cab is where the driver sits to drive the truck, and the navigator tells the driver which way to go. Lots of fun things going on. And that is a day in the life of a firefighter, as read to you by Mr. Beam.